Hey guys, I'm back, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a movie review on Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. This is the fifth and final film in the Indiana Jones franchise. It was released in 2023. It stars Harrison Ford, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and Mads Mikkelsen. In this movie, Indiana Jones teams up with his goddaughter to retrieve a legendary dial that can change the course of history. This will be a spoiler-free review, of course, and without further ado, let's begin with this review, and let's start talking about the positives. It's an Indiana Jones film, you gotta talk about the man himself. Harrison Ford delivers another great performance as Indiana Jones in this film. He is obviously older now, way older, so like his movement and everything in the action sequences, obviously it's not the same. So I in terms of like the physicality, I don't think, he delivers it as well as he does in the previous movies, in most of the previous films, and that is because, he can't because he's older. But in terms of the performance and all of that, and just a lot of the emotional stuff as well, he really delivers on all of it. There is more emotion to this one and to the character himself than in other Indiana Jones films, and Harrison Ford is good in all of that stuff, as well as just being very charismatic and very charming, and basically just delivering the same performance that he has in previous Indiana Jones films, which is of course great. So it's great to see that Harrison Ford has still got it. And I feel like this one infrequently is kind of able to recapture the magic of Indiana Jones a little bit more than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was able to, I think. And as a result, there is some fun to be had here in quite a few sequences, and it doesn't nuke the fridge. I'll just leave it at that. I feel like I've said all I need to say there. It doesn't nuke the fridge. Additionally, John Williams returns to do the score in this one, and while I don't think it is quite as memorable as, it's been in previous Indiana Jones films, it's still not too bad because John Williams composes it. So that's quite a good thing, the score. And as I'm assuming you all know, this does do some stuff with the character of Indiana Jones involving some more emotion and all of that, because it does show him as an older, sadder version of himself. Kind of like what they did with Luke in The Last Jedi, except not quite as severe. And while it will definitely be one of, if not the most controversial part of this film, because it is of course what people have been dreading to see in this film for ages, and a lot of people will hate it, it is at the very least an interesting and new idea for the character. So now let's move on to the negatives, and immediately Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character for most of the film is probably about as dislikable as you wouldn't want her to be. She feels like a very Kathleen Kennedy character, let's just put it that way, unfortunately, as that is, of course, like, really not how I'm sure a lot of people wanted it to turn out, and, that is how people were worried she would turn out. She just, like, she really does kind of, she's a character who barely has any weaknesses, and as a result is a very uninteresting character for the most part. But I didn't like her dynamic with Indiana Jones either. Not only does she, like, disrespect him quite a bit throughout the film, despite the fact he is the character most worthy of respect ever, but they also just feel really fed up with each other for quite a bit of the film, and not even in a fun way, not even in a kind of like siblings who hate each other because they're siblings kind of way, for example. It's just legitimately not fun to watch whenever that element of their dynamic is present. Speaking of characters, Mads Mikkelsen's villain is fairly weak. Like, not a terrible villain just because of Mads Mikkelsen's presence, but still, he's pretty uninteresting, and the characters here are just generally uninteresting. There aren't really any memorable characters at all, I don't think. Additionally, while not quite on the level of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the CGI here is quite infuriating. Obviously, you have the de-aging in the opening sequence, and I forgot to mention in the positive section, but the opening sequence is pretty great, actually. And when I was talking about it slightly being able to recapture the magic of Indiana Jones, that is, that is pretty present in the opening sequence, in my opinion. And the de-aging stuff, it isn't terrible overall, but like the fact that it's digital, like at least in my opinion, at least in my experience, does make it feel consistently off. Like, he does just feel like a character from a PS5 game cutscene for like the whole thing, even though it doesn't look too bad. But there is a lot of CGI in the action scenes and stuff when the Indiana Jones franchise is known for having good, well, not really known, but it does have good what is it known? I don't even know. But anyway, it's got good practical effects and everything in the action sequences, and it is what makes them so fun and magical, basically. And so it is obviously annoying to see that element removed for quite a bit of this film with the CGI and stuff. But overall, I wouldn't say the action is like too bad overall, and as I said, at times is able to slightly recapture the magic of Indiana Jones, at least in my opinion. Overall, this film just feels very unnecessary as well. That should come as no surprise, but obviously Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was a very unnecessary film as well. I am pretty glad this movie exists though, because now that means Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull doesn't have to be the final movie in the Indiana Jones franchise anymore. But at the same time, I feel like this movie could have not been made and everything probably would have been fine. especially with the ending of this film as well. Obviously, no spoilers, but after I saw the ending, I just went, well, you could have just left it a Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and everything would have been fine, to be honest. At the end of the day, this basically just feels like how you would expect an Indiana Jones movie with modern Disney and modern Lucasfilm to feel like in 2023, unfortunately. The closest thing I can compare it to is remembering that you have something from your childhood lying around in your house somewhere that you really loved and brought you so many great memories, and you're hoping to make more memories with it, so you spend ages looking for it, you find it, dust it off, and realize this isn't quite as good as I'd hoped, and I should probably stick with the memories I already had with it instead of making new ones. That's basically Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Other issues include those occasional fun moments I was on about really not adding up to much at all, and the new direction for the character of Indiana Jones with, them making him more sad and everything because he's older, which I feel like was kind of like an okay way to address the fact that he's way older in the film. But like that new direction, it was definitely a bad idea and it doesn't fit the franchise. Despite the fact it was new and slightly interesting, it doesn't work for the Indiana Jones franchise. James Mangold directing gave me hope and also made me skeptical. And unfortunately, the stuff I was worried about, is very much present in this film. He takes a Logan approach quite a bit to the character of Indiana Jones, and while it very much works for Wolverine, for Wolverine, of course, it doesn't work for the character of Indiana Jones because all of the movies are literally just fun movies, with the character of Indiana Jones being someone who doesn't worry about emotion or anything too much. I'm assuming you all know who the character of Indiana Jones is and what he's like and why this approach wouldn't work for him, and it doesn't work for him. As a result, the movie is kind of tonally off because the character is quite off, but the tone didn't really stick out as a major issue to me. I just think this movie should have never been made, to be honest. Not only do you have modern Disney and modern Lucasfilm in charge, but it also kind of takes what didn't work about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in terms of Harrison Ford being older and the CGI now existing, and kind of cranks it up to 11 and pushes the boundaries with it, to be honest. Harrison Ford is now older than ever, Indiana Jones is now sadder than ever, and similar to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, it just made it feel like Indiana Jones cannot be replicated or continued nowadays. I'm still glad that we got this movie because now it means Kingdom of the Crystal Skull doesn't have to be the end of the franchise, but I still think it would have been fine if they left it at Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but we never needed Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in the first place. They got themselves into this mess. I'm done talking about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Overall, to quote the original Rotten Tomatoes critics consensus before they decided to change it after the score went up, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is a largely unnecessary franchise finale. Not terrible, but not very good either. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. That's all for today. Thank you very much for watching this review. If you did enjoy, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you want to. If you have seen this movie, feel free to let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.